Bethan's Kitchen and Garden. I am Bethan and today I'm in the kitchen as I'm continuing my recipes on using squash in cooking. So I've already roasted my Turk's turban squash. You can use any squash if you've got butternut squash or an acorn or an onion squash, anything really, or a pumpkin. Whatever you've got to hand is absolutely fine, and you can swap it in and out whichever way round, as you can with a few of the ingredients as well, which I'll talk you through in a minute. But this is part of the series on how I cook with my squash that I harvest at autumn time. So let me show you the ingredients I've got for our squash risotto today, and I'll talk you through how I'm going to do it. Here are the ingredients that I will be using today. I've got 3 medium-sized leeks. You can use an onion if you haven't got any leeks, and half a celeriac, or maybe 2 to 3 stems of celery if you've got that. Here is my cooked squash, which you can see how I roasted that in the link above, which should drop down now. I've got some cheese, which is optional. You can put the cheese in at the end if you wish to do so. I've got sage, dried sage, black pepper for grinding, 400 grams of risotto rice, some flaked sea salt, and 2 stock cubes. These are not vegan stock cubes, as far as I know. They are vegetarian stock cubes, but if you wanted to use vegan cheese and vegan stock cubes, then this recipe should be vegan as far as I'm aware. So to begin this recipe, we're going to make up our stock, or if you have homemade stock, or you have stock that you buy as a liquid, then you need about 2 litres of that, and you just need to put it in a pan and then put it on a heat to sort of simmer throughout the course of the cooking, because you'll just use this stock to add to the rice as the risotto cooks. So I'm just going to make up 2 litres of stock now. If you don't use the whole 2 litres, that's absolutely fine. You can use it in a soup, or use it to cook with, put it in a casserole, whatever really. So I'm just going to put that on to simmer away, so we can use this as and when we need it. And now let's get on with our leeks and celeriac. Whilst I'm doing the leeks, I'm going to put this pan on to a low heat as well, because I'll be putting the leeks into here in a minute. So on my hob, I'm using number 4, which is sort of like a low to medium heat. Because my leeks are homegrown, I need to make sure I thoroughly rinse them before I use them. So I'm just going to finely dice or finely slice the leeks. So I'm going to add a ladleful of my stock, and then I'm going to add the leeks. I'm trying to cook healthily, so I don't tend to use butter or oil in my pan I just use stock or water, but by all means use butter and oil if you want to, because it is very nice. So that's the leeks in the pan. And now we're going to chop up the celeriac. So start by peeling the celeriac. Just add a bit more stock and give these leeks a stir around. And then we'll finally chop the celeriac. So once that's done, I'll add that to the pan as well. So that's the celery and leeks added together. I'm just going to add a tiny bit more stock and then put the lid on and leave those to cook down together for about 5 minutes. So the 5 minutes have passed and I'm just going to add a little bit more stock and then the risotto rice. And I want that to stir that in, and then I want to just leave it to simmer for a little minute or so just to absorb that juice that's in the bottom. And if you weren't being too healthy, you could at this point add a bit of white wine, which is very nice. But as we are being healthy here, we won't bother. So the rice has absorbed whatever moisture was left in the bottom, and now I'm going to add a bit more stock. So we're going to leave it alone now, and every 5 to 10 minutes I'm going to add another 1 or 2 ladlefuls of stock, and I'll slowly add it over time, and then we should end up with a nice unctuous risotto due to the slow cooking of the rice. So I'll come back in about 10 minutes and I'll show you what's occurring then. 10 minutes has passed now, and the risotto is cooking nicely. I'm going to add another couple of ladlefuls now. If you didn't have cooked butternut squash, you could add it at this point, and it should cook in the time. I'm getting a bit low on the stock now, so I can either just use make up another batch of stock, or I could just use water. But we'll leave that for another 5 minutes to cook away, and I'll add another ladleful and another ladleful, and so on after 5 minutes each time, roughly 5 minutes. The risotto has now been cooking for about half an hour, and I'm just going to add some seasoning. of salt. And a teaspoon of dried sage. I'm just going to try it now, see what it's like. That's ready for the squash. So before I put the squash, I'm just going to add a bit more stock. And then in with the squash. Mix it all together. As the squash heats up, it'll start to break up a bit, and then we'll have squash running all the way through the risotto. So I'm going to put the last of the stock in now. And leave it all to heat through, and I'll bring you back when it's done and I'm not making such a mess. So to me, this is done now. This is how I like it. It's all absorbed together and the risotto still has a little bit of bite. All that's left for me to do is to dish it up and give it a try. Now, did I get it right? That's really nice. That's because we put the sage in there, it has a very sort of Christmassy, autumny taste to it. That's a bit like stuffing, a bit like you know, on a Christmas dinner, but for vegetarians. So it's really nice. It's still got a slight bite to the rice, but it's not hard and chewy, and it's not a bit of slop either. So I'm very pleased with this. Right, stop eating that. I'm just going to put a little bit of cheese on top because, you know, it's cheese. But it's absolutely fine without as well. But I'll just put a bit of cheese on there just to see how it goes. All I can say about that is a very lovely job.